Hey guys, Emmanuel here, and before I jump into this video, I just want to ask you guys to give me the HBO special, and that is the Help a Brother Out. And you can do that by hitting the subscribe button and leaving a like under this video. It helps out a lot, and I'm going to give you guys a few seconds to do that. Alright, now that that's over, guys, we may be getting Shai Gilgeous-alexander. Yes, you heard that right. The prodigal son might be returning to his hometown. Now, according to TSN's Josh Lewenberg, who was the first one to report on this, the Toronto Raptors are closely monitoring the situation in OKC, in which they think Shai Gilgeous-alexander may tire of leading a rebuilding team. Shai Gilgeous-alexander is 24 years old, and as you can expect, he is moving more and more to a point in his career where winning matters a lot to him. And in recent years, winning hasn't been the top priority for the OKC Thunder. Rather, they've been more interested and more preoccupied with acquiring talent through the draft, something they've managed to do pretty well, if I do say so myself. Because in the last 2 years, in the last two drafts, they were able to snatch up Josh Giddey and Chet Holmgren, guys I think are going to be absolute bona fide stars in this league. I love both of those guys. That tells you the mindset that the OKC Thunder have. And someone like Shai Gilgeous-alexander, who is, a tenacious player who is ready to win right now, that may not be the best environment for him. Shai signed a 5-year, $172 million contract with the OKC Thunder last year, and in a recent interview, he stated that he wasn't interested in leaving the OKC Thunder prior to his contract ending, and that won't be until 2027. But that could change if the Thunder continue to lose consistently in the next coming seasons, because the Thunder aren't going to start winning for a while. And maybe 2 years down the line, maybe a year and a half into this contract, he realizes that this just isn't going to work out for him. And what better place for him to go than his hometown and his home country of Toronto? Yes, Shai Gilgeous-alexander was born in Toronto, so can't write this. Hollywood couldn't write this. And I, for one, would love to see Shai Gilgeous-alexander come north of the border sooner rather than later. Shai Gilgeous is one of the top prospects for the NBA currently at the age of 24. In fact, last year he averaged 24.2 points per game on 47.2% field goal shooting and 34.3% from the three-point line. If he were on the Toronto Raptors last year, he would have beat out Pascal Siakam, Fred VanVleet, Scottie Barnes, all of them for scoring. He would have led the Raptors in scoring. That is how good this brother is. That is how much of an asset he would be currently for the Toronto Raptors. And at that age, he's only going to get better. The thing about him is he hasn't even reached his peak yet. He's still 24. Gilgeous-alexander, though, isn't the fastest or the most athletic player out there, but he is one of the league's best one-on-one players. In fact, last season, the only other player in the NBA that scored more total points in an isolation setting was Luka Doncic. And you guys know how good Luka Doncic is. Devin Booker knows how good Luka Doncic is. No one wants to get left on an island with Luka Doncic, and Shai Gilgeous-alexander being in that company just tells you how special he is. He's a scoring machine, and I think would do well under Nick Nurse. I think Nick Nurse would be able to utilize him well. And fun fact, speaking of that, Shai Gilgeous-alexander did actually play under Nick Nurse when he played for the Canadian national team. So there would be a lot of familiar territory were he to return to Toronto Raptors. He would come home, he would play under a coach that he's familiar with and a coach that knows how to coach him. It's all good and well to speculate, and it's all good and well for the Toronto Raptors to keep tabs on him and would be willing to trade for him if the opportunity presents itself. But the question is, what are the logistics of that? Do we, the Toronto Raptors, even have the capital to trade for a talent of this caliber? Because I'm pretty sure that the Toronto Raptors wouldn't be the only team that would be vying to trade for Shai Gilgeous-alexander. Like I just said, he is one of the best prospects in the NBA. Any team would be lucky to have him at this current age, and he's only poised to go up from here in terms of talent. But I do think the Toronto Raptors would have the biggest advantage of landing him because of the things I just stated. A familiar head coach and hometown. That gives us a tremendous advantage over any other team that would be vying for him. But getting him would be tricky unless we are willing to wait for him to become a free agent, which won't be until 2027. And like I said, I'd much rather see him in Toronto sooner rather than later. Now, any self-respecting organization would immediately ask for Scottie Barnes to be placed on a trading table in any trade talks with the Toronto Raptors. And I imagine that the OKC Thunder would do the same thing when it comes to one of their best prospects. But as we found out this summer in the Kevin Durant sweepstakes, Scottie Barnes is off the table and off limits for the Toronto Raptors. I don't think the Toronto Raptors will ever trade Scottie Barnes. I can't even see that happening. But depending on if and how Shai's attitude towards continued losing, the Toronto Raptors might be able to just get away with giving up draft capital for him, right? If Shai stays with the OKC Thunder and he realizes that they're just not focused on winning, and he finds himself to be 25, going on 26, and he finds himself wanting to win, he may be able to just strong arm his way out of there and say, listen, I want to go somewhere that appreciates me and wants to win right now instead of looking for their future. And the Toronto Raptors, like I said, having the best advantage of landing him, might be able to just get away with giving away trade draft capital for him. Something we do have. Like, we do have a lot of draft capital, and good draft capital at that. Now, I don't know how he feels about playing for the Toronto Raptors, but I imagine like any kid growing up and playing basketball, or any kid growing up and playing any kind of sport, you would love to be your hometown hero. And I think he would probably fall into that category. I think he would love to be a hometown hero for the Toronto Raptors. I think the allure of playing and having Drake be his cheerleader would be enticing for him, and it really would be enticing for any Toronto-born player or any Canadian player. I even said that about RJ Barrett. I would love for RJ Barrett to return and play for the Toronto Raptors. It would be awesome. And I think he would love playing under Nick Nurse. I think Nick Nurse is one of the best coaches in the entire NBA. Any player playing for him should be grateful. And another thing about Shai Gilgeous-alexander that I didn't mention is the fact that he is great at playing both the point guard and the two guard. He played the two guard in OKC when Chris Paul was still in OKC, and he got a feel for playing that, but he is a point guard. And I think that would fit perfectly with the vision that Masai Ujiri is trying to accomplish in Toronto, in which he is trying to acquire either positionless players or multi-purpose position players. And Shai would fit that perfectly, regardless, whatever happened. Like TSN's Josh Lewenberg said, Toronto Raptors will keep an eye out on him. They will keep tabs on him, and when an opportunity presents itself, they will be right there to try and snatch him up. And that brings joy to me. I would love to see Shai play for the Toronto Raptors. I would love to see him come back to Canada and represent not only our national team, but also represent us in the NBA. But yes, guys, those are just my thoughts. If you like this kind of video, if you like this kind of content, then this is the channel for you. So make sure to give me the HBO special, the Help a Brother Out, by hitting the subscribe button and leaving a like under this video. Thank you guys for tuning in. Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and until next time, kids.